Here are a couple of things I always tell people heading off on a European river cruise to watch out for. Some of these I did learn the painful way, so you won't have to. By the way, if you're new to my channel, I'm Gary Bembridge, and I'm here to help you make it easier to find, plan, and have those amazing cruise vacations you're dreaming of. So with that in mind, let's get going. First off, never assume that your itinerary will run as advertised and like clockwork. Water levels are the bane of river cruises. Too high or too low affects these cruises in all sorts of ways, and in most seasons they're affected for some or all of the year to some degree. So if water levels are too high, perhaps from heavy rain or heavy winter snow actually melting and overfilling rivers, ships simply can't pass under some of the bridges. If it's too low from drought or low winter snow, it makes it impossible to sail as there's not enough depth underneath the ship. So this could mean that you might stay docked in one place and be bussed to go on excursions, which could be some distance away, or you may even have to pack up completely and change onto a ship further down the river. These have happened to me quite a few times actually. So keep an eye on water levels if you are going on a European river cruise, and check and ask what the arrangements will actually be. Now this next one will be something that some of you will disagree with, because I'm actually telling you to spend more money. However, don't go on those cabins that are right at the bottom of the ship, because 3/4 of them are below water. You have a long window close to the ceiling and it can feel pretty claustrophobic. It gets dark, you're missing out the scenery, but there's a much bigger issue. It's around noise, especially on the Danube and the Rhine, where there's lots of locks, and in the evenings there'll be bumps and water noise, and it can really disturb your sleep. I really don't like those lower cabins so much that I've actually not gone on sailings when those are the only ones available, because I really think it diminishes the overall experience and it's not a great feeling. Now, bear in mind, of course, if you do have a cabin higher up, which does have those floor-to-ceiling windows or a balcony, you might actually not have a lot to look at when you're moored, because on the European rivers, the ships in different ports are moored next to each other rather than, side by side. So actually you could be opening your window and staring straight into another cabin. Now, unlike ocean cruise ships, river cruise boats actually have very few facilities and very few options, and they do actually differ ship by ship. So it's really important before you go on a river cruise to see exactly what facilities your ship has. Does it have a plunge pool? Some do. Does it have a workout room where they do classes? Does it have a hairdresser? Very few do. And also, what are the dining options? Most just have one. Is there a laundry room? Do they have bikes to use? Because that's really going to determine what you're going to bring, what you're going to pack, and what you're going to plan for. Also, really importantly, check and don't assume that it's accessible friendly. Does it have a lift? Does it have ramps? What are the excursion options? Not many river cruise ships are that accessible friendly. Also, they will not have a medical center, but they are able to connect you with a doctor or a pharmacy or whatever if you need one. Don't be shy to ask. I've been on trips where I've needed to see a doctor, and they've been absolutely brilliant at finding a local one that speaks English and is really helpful and not that expensive to go and see. Now, you will be doing a lot of walking on a European river cruise, because almost all of the excursions are walking tours. They go to historic towns, places, cathedrals, whatever. You can easily do 10,000 to 20,000 steps a day. So make sure that you have comfy, worn-in shoes to walk in. That's absolutely critical. There's also 4 other packing tips that I do have for river cruising. First of all, don't take too much luggage, because cabins are pretty small and you don't want that space taken up with big suitcases. Layering is really important. It can get chilly. A waterproof outer layer is a really good idea. Foldable umbrellas are a great idea. Have a little backpack to carry stuff out on your excursions, and having a European adapter is really important. And the 4th one is take euros with you. That is going to be the key currency to have with you. The next thing is, don't plan on having a lot of downtime. European river cruises are very scheduled, they're very packed. I often joke to people, you're not going on a European river cruise for a vacation. You're going to go and do things, see things. It's really, really packed. You're going to be woken up early, maybe 7 o'clock. Most mornings you're going to have breakfast. You're then going to head out on tours from 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You then might come back from a tour for lunch, or then you might sail to the next stop, do another tour. You might have free time to go and explore that place. Then you're going to be back at 6 o'clock. You're going to have a briefing. 7 o'clock you're going to have dinner. Then you're going to have some maybe informal talk. Then you're going to go to bed, and it all starts over again. So it's really, really packed. So don't assume you're going to have lots of downtime. Now, unlike ocean cruising, which has a much more predictable schedule in port, so you arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning, you leave at sort of 5 o'clock or so. But every day and every stop on a European river cruise will be very different. So you need to really watch very carefully what's happening that day to avoid getting left behind or messing up the whole itinerary and plans. Really important if you go self-exploring. In the evening, the ship might stay in a place until late in the evening and then leave. Or even during the day, a ship might actually change where it moors while you're out. So it might drop you in one spot, move to a different spot where you rejoin because of the traffic or the flow of the river. So it's really important to make sure you know what the schedule is. Attend the briefing every evening, take the daily program out with you, and really important, make sure you have the ship phone number and they have yours. So make sure you've got that in your phone. Also check in and out. Some, you leave your key behind, some you just scan out because then they know that you are or aren't on the ship. All European river cruise lines, they offer menus, they offer meals, they offer drinks kind of inspired by the specific region you're sailing through. But bear in mind, it's not the real thing. It's an interpretation of it. And if you only drink and eat on the ship, you're not experiencing Europe. So I do strongly recommend that you do find time to eat and drink within the towns and places you're visiting. Maybe skip lunch when the ship's moored in a place, get out and meet the locals, spend your money there. Don't just stay in a bubble of your fellow Americans, British, Australians, whatever they are. The ship will also often be in a certain place in the early evening and sail much later in the evening. So maybe if you don't want to go out and eat, maybe pop out for a drink afterwards. Things will be open in Europe because it does have a late evening culture, but don't just eat and drink the whole time on the ship. The next thing is river cruise lines say that fares are all-inclusive, but every single line has different interpretations of what all-inclusive means. So make sure exactly what is included and isn't, because you may end up paying much more than you expect. Most lines include all their meals. Most of them will include wine and beer with dinner. Wi-Fi is included. Excursions in each port are included. They have normally at least one choice. But then some have drinks at all times included. So Crystal or Uniworld, they'll have all drinks, while others might just have non-premium drinks like Crossy Europe, while others have none, you have to pay extra. Most will offer various additional optional excursions which you will pay extra beyond the included ones. Some won't. They'll just have everything included. Most will expect gratuities and you have to pay that in cash, in euros. Others will have it included. So really make sure you understand what is actually all-inclusive on your particular cruise line. Now this one may offend people, they may find it not something they agree with, but don't take kids. Although some of the cruise lines are trying to attract more families, they run special cruises with activities and school holidays, river cruising is not really a kid activity in my view. It goes along the rivers, it goes to historic towns, there's lots of excursions involving history, cathedrals, the whole dining approach, the ambiance, and most of the clientele on board is not kind of family focused. So if you do want to go with kids, take a look at perhaps something like an Amma Waterways or other lines like that, which are running very specific family activities and programs during the holidays. Cross Europe is another good example of that. One really important thing that you should never do on a European river cruise is ignore the safety warnings. You're often going to be going under low bridges, so when the crew tells you to stay off the top deck, absolutely stay off the top deck. When you're going through things like a lock, you're going to be really up close to the walls. Don't hold out your hand, don't touch onto objects as the ship is moving. You will get damaged and hurt. But really important, follow those safety briefings, particularly when you're on the top deck, because it can be pretty risky. If you want more help on choosing, planning and making the most of a European river cruise, I put together a playlist of 3 videos. You can watch it right now by clicking here. So why don't you go and watch those right now to find out more.